Coming up on the FSR Sarc Fighter podcast, it started with big sores on her legs.
It took the doctors about 6 to 9 months to determine that I had sarcoidosis. But the way they figured it out was because I started getting these large knots on my legs, which is erythematosis.
Sherron Fantauzzi had never heard of sarcoidosis, and then she had it.
And when the doctor told me, I said, what? No one ever heard of it. I didn't know about it.
Large knots on your legs? Like
below my knees. It's just big sores. Like you'll see photos of people that have those clusters and those sores throughout. You can get them anywhere in your body.
Right.
And that's what happened to me. And
so big open sores, like the size of a
no, like bruises.
We'll hear her story, an apology from me, and the question of how we keep going through all the treatments, coming up on the award-winning FSR Sarc Fighter podcast.
This is the Sarc Fighter podcast, living with sarcoidosis and other rare diseases. Here's your host, John Carlin.
Hello and welcome. This is episode 102 of the FSR Sarc Fighter podcast. I'm your host, John Carlin. This episode is brought to you by ATAR Pharmaceuticals. To learn more about their new pulmonary sarcoidosis trial, FSOFIT, visit stopsarcoidosis.org/ATAR trial, and there's a link in the show notes. So I'm recording today on December 11th, 2023. Let me get this out of the way first. I owe all of you an apology because I just missed an upload last Monday. I just missed. I don't have an excuse except that I just took my eye off the ball, literally. It was the Thanksgiving holidays, and somehow the calendar must have thrown an extra Monday in there, and I lost track of the schedule, and I failed to upload. And as far as I can recall, we've gone through 102 episodes now, so going, well over 2 years, and that hasn't happened before. So I'm feeling pretty bad about that. Because I'm a journalist, I take deadlines very seriously. And I have promised you new podcasts every other Monday, and this time I just whiffed. So I'm so sorry about that. But I got at least one message that I've seen on I think through my Instagram or my Facebook account. But someone said, "Did I miss something? I'm looking for your podcast and I'm not seeing it." And sure enough, that was when I had this big sinking feeling in my gut, like, oh no, I can't believe I did that, but I did. So anyway, let me tell you something that's more interesting. This sort of leads to a sarcoidosis takeaway at the end of it. It's sort of a roundabout way of getting there. You wouldn't think that what I'm about to tell you about would be related to sarcoidosis, but stick with me and see if you agree with my conclusions here. The whole Carlin family spent this past weekend at a remote mountain lodge in Rockbridge County, Virginia. Beautiful, beautiful. It's a wedding venue. I guess it could just be a lodge for reunions or whatever, but clearly they are set up to handle weddings. And this would be in what most people would think of as the southern Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, okay, outside Lexington, Virginia, which is the home of the Virginia Military Institute and a famous college, Washington and Lee College. So we were in the countryside surrounding that, right in the mountains, just absolutely gorgeous. But the family wasn't just there to attend this wedding. There was a big Carlin commitment. Let me detail that for you because it was wonderful. First of all, my youngest son Tyler was the best man because the groom Ethan was his best friend growing up, and they are still extremely close. And then so my grandchildren Olivia, Finn, and Holden were all in the wedding. Olivia is 4, and she was the flower girl. Finn is 3 and Holden is 1. And so what they did is they had this beautiful red wagon that my parents had given them for Christmas last year, and they did it all they kind of took it and made holiday decorations on it, on the sides that come up. and we had Finn come down the aisle pulling Holden, and they were the ring bearers. So that was the plan, and getting young kids to cooperate is is not always easy. So anyway, so my grandkids were in the wedding. Tyler's in the wedding. Tyler's wife, Emily, my daughter-in-law, was also one of the bridesmaids. And then my two other sons were there, not only as lifelong friends of Ethan, the groom, but he actually works for them now. And I'll just throw this out there. I don't know if I've mentioned it on the podcast before or not, but my two oldest sons have a very successful YouTube channel. They are the Super Carlin brothers, and they make their living by producing videos on their channel, and they do a lot of work in the realm of what's known as fandom. So think in terms of Harry Potter, of Star Wars, of Disney Pixar, of all of these different types of productions, whether it's, sometimes it's, Harry Potter started out as a book, right? But then became the movies, and now it's, it's everywhere. But these guys just do a lot of work within that area, looking at the movies, looking at different theories as to how the characters came into their various situations, looking at the backstories of characters, and it goes on and on and on, and I can't really explain it to you. Some of you may be familiar with their work, but at any rate, Ethan, the groom, is their editor. So he works for my two older sons. So they were both at the wedding. And yes, and here is the part that I'm very proud of, in addition to all the other stuff. But I was actually the officiant for the wedding, so I was there to perform the ceremony. And this, as it turns out, is the third time that I've done this. I performed my middle son, Ben, got married several years ago, and so he asked me to perform the ceremony, and I was absolutely thrilled and flattered. So I did that. And then his wife's sister got married, and they asked me to perform that ceremony. So that was maybe a couple of years later. And then Ethan, another family friend, was talking to everybody, and he's like, well, we need somebody to perform the ceremony. Do you think John would do it? And they said, well, just ask him. And of course, I was thrilled to be asked, because it's very flattering that somebody would think that that would be something that I could do for them, and then to be a part of their lives. So the Carlin connection to all of this was amazing, and I will throw in the fact that my wife, Nana Mary, had a big role in terms of getting the littles, Olivia and Holden and Finn, to get in the proper position to do their part as young children who had to go down the aisle and be absolutely adorable and just get through their part, and then not be distracting throughout the rest of the ceremony. And so Mary may have had the biggest role out of any of us. So how that works is I am not I am not ordained or anything like that. And in Virginia, you go to the courthouse and you get a license to perform a single ceremony on the day in question, and then that's it. And every time I've done it, I thought it would be the only time or the last time that I would do it. So I went to the courthouse and I got my license to perform that ceremony on that day. And so we arrive at the wedding venue, and the bride's family is from Chicago, and we're in Virginia. And you know how it is. People come from all over the country, and they're at this gorgeous venue. And I got sick. I got really, really sick. Friday night was the rehearsal dinner, and I had been out of work one day last week, was feeling better. I'd had just a severe case of intestinal something or other, and spent a day pretty much wanting to be within running distance of the bathroom. Let's just leave it that way. But I rallied. I got better. Friday night's the rehearsal dinner. I went to the rehearsal dinner, pretty much ate, and my stomach was still off a little bit, but I ate mostly as normal. And then Friday night, I had a bad rebound. Bad. It was worse than it was when I was sick earlier in the week. let's just say both ends, okay? And it was bad. So I wound up staying in bed for most of Saturday. I could not eat anything. Mary went to breakfast. Of course, they've got all the wedding related events, and everything is self-contained at this wedding venue because it's like 10 miles into town. So that but they have everything on premises, and they do a great job. Mary goes to breakfast. She says, "I brought you some food," and throughout the day, I literally nibbled on a cold pancake, and that was all I was able to do. But my thing is not only was I feeling badly, like ill, but I was also worried, like I'm the wedding officiant. Like my whole family is here, the kids, the grandkids, the bride and groom, the families traveling from all over, and I cannot not do this. And so I said, all right, I'm going to stay in bed. I'm going to rest. And if I have one good hour on Saturday, it's going to be the hour that I perform this ceremony, right? So, and I am just sick with worry about not letting these people down. Well, so the wedding I had to be in place around 4 o'clock for the lineup. Around 2:30 or 3, I just put my clothes on. I got out of bed. I went out and I took a lap around the outside of the inn. Felt okay, felt okay. Hadn't eaten anything yet, but I said, "All right, I can do this. I've got the strength, and I'm not having to run into the bathroom every 20 minutes." So I did. I rallied and I did the ceremony, and it went off without a hitch. It was just so beautiful. The bride was beautiful, the groom, and I don't think anybody ever told them that I was sick. Like they needed one more thing to worry about, right? Some of my family knew, but the word was don't tell Ethan and Kate. Just like, let's not put that burden on them. And then I will tell you, they had written vows that they were going to exchange, and they had them in these little booklets that they were supposed to give to me, that during the appropriate time of the ceremony I was supposed to give to them. They forgot their vows. And so I'm going through my checklist, and I'm like, I don't have the vows. I don't, what am I going to do? I don't have, so I went and saw my son, Tyler, the best man. I'm like, Tyler, no vows. And so they had to wind up going back, or there's 2 big inns on this property, but they're about a half mile apart. And there's, you can't walk between them. It is rugged territory. So they jump in the car, they run back down, they find the vows, they bring them to me, and they arrive literally with 2 minutes before we're supposed to line up and start the ceremony. So we got the vows, and that was great. And the grandkids were amazing. They were so cute. Little Finn pulling the wagon with little Holden in it, and Finn gets halfway down the aisle, and he's so proud of himself. And then everybody starts applauding, and he just stops. Like he's 3, and he's like, I don't want to say he's like waving to the crowd, but he just stops. He's looking around like, oh, wow, look what I did. And that made it even better. It made it even better. So he comes down the aisle, and then Olivia comes down the aisle, and she's throwing the flower petals, and she was wonderful, and she was just absolutely gorgeous in her little gown, and everything was super. The ceremony went off without a hitch, and I managed to rally and stay through a good part of the reception, and went to bed that night knowing that I had dodged a pretty significant bullet, and was just so relieved. Not that I wasn't sick anymore, but that I had done this, and had successfully helped these people out, because I had been so worried about it. Maybe I'm beating a dead horse here. I guess you get my point. So I went to bed thinking that I had dodged a bullet. Well, about the middle of the night, I woke up with this intense pain in the middle of my back. This was not anything that I had been feeling during the illness, during the sickness to date, right? I had all kinds of things, but I hadn't had any pain in my back. In fact, the last time I felt this type of pain, and I remembered it clear as day, was early December of 2018. Almost, I want to say almost to the day. All right. So this would have been December 10th. So it was back in 2018, and that time I wound up going to the hospital and spending 3 days in the hospital because of a flare of the sarcoidosis. And an MRI showed that I had inflammation all up and down my spinal cord. Now, just to give you a quick reset, for me, my sarcoidosis is neurosarc, and it is on my spinal cord. And it has been an issue for me, and I have some permanent damage to my spinal cord from my initial onset with sarcoidosis. Well, back in 2018, I'm in the hospital. I walked as if I was drunk. I couldn't walk a straight line. I could not use all of my bowel movements were not functioning properly because of the signal blockage from my brain. They gave me massive doses of IV prednisone, and they got it under control in a few days to where at least I could get out of the hospital. But that began basically a whole year of massive doses of prednisone, and all through 2019, they were giving me IV treatments of Cytoxan, which is a chemo drug. And I mean, 2019 was just awful. Okay. And you guys have heard me talk about that ad nauseum. But while I'm lying in bed and I have this pain in my back, I'm thinking, yeah, the last time I felt anything like that, it was the flare. And so everything starts going through your mind, right? I'm going through, not only does this hurt, but that's kind of beside the point. But what if? What if this is a flare? What if I have to go back and all of a sudden my 2024 is like my 2019? And I started thinking to myself, could I go through that again? I mean, could I, if they told me they were going to put me back on 80 grams of milligrams of prednisone and the chemo drugs, and I said, could I do that again? Would I just tell them no? Would I tell them they had to find something else, as if there is something else? I mean, I'm already going to the Cleveland Clinic. I'm going to one of the best facilities in the country, and because I host this podcast, I'm kind of aware of what's out there because I'm talking to doctors, I'm talking to researchers, and so fortunately or unfortunately, I know a lot more about the playing field for sarcoidosis, and I just kind of have heard most of the options, and I just thought, oh my God, I just don't know. I don't know if I could go through that again. It just was, and it was very real for me in the moment. And then later, Mary said to me, she's like, John, I don't know if I could go through all that again. I mean, she's my caregiver, right? But she hasn't really had to do much with that other than tolerate me. But I mean, we've take regular trips to Cleveland, which is from here. It's it's a 3-day outing, a day to drive up, a day for treatment, a day to drive back, and just it's very disruptive, and there's just it's just a lot, and now ultimately I can tell you that all that worry was, as far as I know right now, for naught. It appears to have been related to the sickness that I was having at the time, the gastrointestinal issues. The pain subsided, and it has actually came back a little bit. But if it had been a flare, it would have come and it would have stayed, and nothing short of a trip to the hospital would have fixed it. So I am grateful again. This was just kind of a reminder. And the word, remission is not a word that you're supposed to use. My sarcoidosis is described as controlled because I'm still taking medications. I'm still taking Imuran every day and Humira once a week. And that is, as far as we know, and I don't want to take a chance to find out, but as far as I know, that's why my sarcoidosis has not returned. The word remission is when you're not taking anything and you don't have any symptoms. So let's call me controlled. But man, I am so grateful to be controlled. And then it made me think of all of you that I talk to who have recurring battles or ongoing battles with sarcoidosis. And you are in the struggle. Maybe you've never even ever had the sense of getting better, which I have had. because I'm essentially symptom free while it's controlled. And so I just want to reiterate how much I and all of us salute you wherever you are in your journey and your efforts and your battle and your struggles. This is a tough disease, and that's why I end every show here by saying, until next time, keep fighting, because that's really all you can do. It really is. Hey, I hope you're enjoying this podcast. I kind of got real down and melancholy there, and really, I guess I should be up because everything that I was worried about didn't happen to me. But I do want to salute all of you, and I hope you're enjoying the podcast. And I want to thank FSR for joining with me and helping me put this podcast out there and helping me reach as many people as possible through their website. And we are really partners in this project. And it helps me and helps FSR reach more people with the messaging, and all the people that have given the time to share their stories, or the researchers who have given their valuable time, and their time is so hard to find, to get the message out there and to keep people talking about sarcoidosis. So it does help reach more people and grow the show if you share it on your social media, give it a good review wherever you podcasts, and just tell one other person in the sarcoidosis space about the FSR Sarc Fighter podcast. All right, coming up, I have my interview with Sherron Fantauzzi. She's an FSR community outreach leader at Inova Health System. That's a volunteer position with FSR. So she's one of the people who lives near Inova Health, and she is working on focus groups. She's offered to help guide patients there through their struggles, to help give them whatever guidance or her thoughts, or a support group, whatever it is that they need. And so Sherron is doing that. And she's an interesting person. She's very up. She referees basketball, but she keeps having flares. She's dealing with all the issues from the prednisone that inevitably comes with all the flares, but she's a lively person. She was a wonderful interview. And I know that you will enjoy hearing her talk about her journey with sarcoidosis, because she's just so up and interesting and wonderful. And Sherron is up next here on the FSR Sarc Fighter podcast.
I feel like a zombie, just feeding and stumbling.
Hi, I hope you're enjoying the Sarc Fighter podcast. You may be wondering, what can I do to help? How can I be a part of the sarcoidosis solution? It's simple. Make a donation to KISS, Kick In to Stop Sarcoidosis. 100% of the money goes to the Foundation for Sarcoidosis Research. Look for a link in the show notes of the Sarc Fighter podcast. Welcome back to the FSR Sarc Fighter podcast. Joining me now is Sherron Fantauzzi.
It's pronounced Sherron.
Oh, Sherron, I am so sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah?
I get that all the time.
Okay.
I live in Maryland, but I'm originally from New York, and I relocated to Lorton, Virginia, which is Fairfax, and that's my connection with Fairfax.
Okay, gotcha. So, Sherron, I am so sorry about that. Should have got that straight ahead of time. Actually, I was looking at your bio on LinkedIn, and you went to a SUNY school. Did you not?
Yes, I did.
Purchase, State University of New York at Purchase?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm a SUNY grad also. I went to SUNY Plattsburgh, way up on the Canadian border.
Oh, where it's nice and cold.
Yeah, they have the 4th of July, and then the rest of the year is winter. Kind of like
from Westchester County, so that's why I ended up doing the whole SUNY.
Okay,
because I did Westchester Community College, which is a SUNY college as well, which is a 2-year, and then go on to Purchase to get my 4-year degree.
And my wife and I met in college, but she also she grew up in Westchester. So northern Westchester.
Then you're familiar County. With our area.
I know it a little bit. My wife would know it much better. My wife, Mary. Well, let's talk about you and sarcoidosis, shall we? Where do you have Sarc in your body, first of all?
My lungs.
Lungs,
Mine
okay.
is
Pulmonary.
pulmonary.
Okay. And how did you first know that something was wrong? Tell us the story of how Sarc crept into your life.
Okay, look, this is funny. It's not funny, but it's unusual. So I was diagnosed with sarcoidosis 27 years ago. Now, what happened was I went apple picking in Cantona, New York, which is Westchester. And at the orchard, I had a great time. It was nothing. I was fine. I went in perfectly fine. And it was with my sister's family and mine. My sister had recently been diagnosed with lupus. So when I started having shortness of breath and stuff, sarcoidosis has similar symptoms as lupus with the knots and things. And it took the doctors about 6 to 9 months to determine that I had sarcoidosis. But the way they figured it out was because I started getting these large knots on my legs, which is erythematosis. And when the doctor told me, I said, "What? No one ever heard of it. I didn't know about it."
Large knots on your legs, like
below my knees. It's just big sores. Like you'll see photos of people that have those clusters and those sores throughout. You can get them anywhere in your body.
Right.
And that's what happened to me. And
so big open sores, like the size of a
no, like bruises.
Oh, bruises. Okay.
Like a bruise, like a big bruises.
And what did the doctor call that?
Erythematosis.
I had never heard of that.
Really?
Erythematosis.
Erythematosis.
Yeah. Okay. So were you misdiagnosed, or was that actually what it was?
Well, that's what it initially was, but it turned out it's sarcoidosis, a form of sarcoidosis.
Okay.
Because I had it on my knees, on my legs, and then that's when he had me go do the biopsy on my lungs. Because he connected it, because he said, "I think you have sarcoidosis." After, sending me around to rheumatologists and ENT doctors and all of that,
right.
He finally he actually put the puzzle together by saying, "Oh wait, these two things are connected," and that's what I ended up having, sarcoidosis. And once he realized it was that, he put me on 60 milligrams of prednisone because I couldn't breathe. The problem was that I even knew I had an issue was because I couldn't breathe. I used to run hills and stuff, and where I come from is a lot of hills in the area. And I used to go up the hill like no problem. Then all of a sudden it was like, and then walking across the room became an issue. So it was all because of the breathing that even sent me to the doctor. And then after he had me go on the I call it the Globetrotters tour through all these doctors and all this blood work, the knots showed up. And the knots is what made him realize what it was. But no one knew much about it, so I didn't talk about it. So initially when I fast forwarded moving here, and I've been under the care of Dr. Ariel, who's the person that referred me to the Foundation of Sarcoidosis and Research, but he's a pulmonary specialist, and he's the lead person at Fairfax Hospital,
right,
for lungs. And when I connected with him immediately because he had a curiosity about the disease, he listened to every patient. And so I finally felt heard, right? Here I have somebody that seems like, they believe that I'm exhausted from doing nothing. They believe I slept 8 hours. I woke up because part of one of the symptoms is fatigue. And you could go to sleep and wake up and feel like you haven't even rest. He got it. So when I would go in and I talked to him, I was like, "Oh my God, I was so tired." And then I didn't tell my families really too much about it because they wouldn't understand it. I didn't understand it.
Right.
But I went through all of this with the prednisone and stuff. Then I come here. And then from the relationship that I have with Dr. Ariel, all of a sudden I got this email from Mindy saying, "Would you be interested in being a part of the Foundation of Sarcoidosis and Research?" I'm like, "I've never even heard of them. I had sarcoidosis for 27 years. I never heard of them."
Never heard of FSR?
No.
Wow.
Not until Dr. Ariel. And he recently, I know it's one of their new partners. So it's new to Inova as well.
Right,
but
right.
It really is. And so I felt so honored. I said anything that he said, he asked me to do, I'm doing it. Because he was so kind to me during my flare-ups is what I call them.
Right. Sure. Yeah. That's what it's. When you have a flare, life is not good. So you became, are you a community outreach leader now at Inova?
Yes, I'm so excited. I am a community outreach leader.
So
And it's
tell
nice
people what that is and what that means.
so community outreach, what I do is I represent Fairfax Inova Hospital, and I physically go out in the community to churches, health fairs, and different things and talk about sarcoidosis to bring awareness. Because that was the one thing I felt like now I can fight it back. Before I was so vulnerable, I couldn't do anything, right? Like all I
Right,
could do was take the medicine and guess. And
right.
now I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna tell everybody in the world that'll listen to me, and I'm gonna get some money for this organization. So, and people are like, when I sent out, I immediately connected sarcoidosis to my Small Talk LinkedIn Instagram page so that I could then start asking just everyday people, like people I know, to give to my foundation. And it was so funny because so many people were like, you have sarcoidosis? I didn't realize you had it. 27 years, but I never said anything because when you tell people you have something that they know nothing about, they then start thinking different things, right? They speculate and they have
Mm-hmm.
no idea. And then here
Mm-hmm.
I am back in the corner, like, I can't really explain it. I used to tell people it's the cousin to lupus, but it is not the cousin to lupus. But that was the only thing that I could tell people in my world so they could have some kind of understanding what the disease is. But it's so much more than the
Yeah.
cousin to it's so much more. So what I ended up doing was becoming a community outreach person. So going out, speaking out about it. They also have a community person what is that title?
There's two,
Two
I can't
roles.
remember the
So
title.
the
Yeah, there's
other
two
role
roles that
is
each
doing
medical center.
the support system, right?
Right,
So they
right.
actually get together and they speak to what is their role? I'm going to tell you, the community group leader.
Group
So what
leader,
the
that's
community
it.
group leader does is they meet and they have a support group for
Right.
people that have sarcoidosis. But what I love about the FSR is they also have the support group for family members. So
Mm-hmm.
if I didn't participate, my daughter can participate. And what happened is that it allows your supporter, the person that's actually taking care of you or assisting you, to have a better understanding of the disease as well. So then they say, "Oh," because my daughters was like used to tease me. I'd be like, "I'm driving." I'm like, "Oh, I gotta stop. I'm fatigued." They're like, "This lady is crazy," and they used to tease me.
Right.
After my daughter came to one meeting, she's like, "Mom, I'm so sorry," because they've been tormenting those
Didn't get it,
kids,
right?
not believing anything. Because sometimes you age. You could wake up every day with a different issue.
Right,
Because if you think about it, it's inflammation disease, right? Inflammation can go anywhere in your body.
right. That's
So
right.
it could be your hands, it could be your legs, it could be your feet, anywhere.
Yeah.
So that was my challenge really. But so being a community outreach person gave me an opportunity to talk to people. And the main reason why I wanted to really get involved is because I wanted people to see someone that looks like them. And that to me was important because there's so many Black Americans
Yes,
that
that's right.
experience sarcoidosis and they don't even know they have it. That's first of all, we're not diagnosed as quickly as our white counterparts. And I don't know it's because we don't go to the doctor or we ignore it. Because think about it, if you're having some swelling, you just have swelling. You just
Right,
soak your feet and you keep going. Take an Epsom salt bath or whatever, right?
right.
If you're short of breath, you just think, "Oh, I did too much today."
Or
You
I'm
don't
out of shape, or whatever. Got to go to the gym. You just assume, unless you know that it's sarcoidosis, you're just going to assume it's just life, right?
Right, or aging, right? Oh, I'm
Yeah,
getting older, right?
right.
But with Black Americans, they have the highest incidence of sarcoidosis in the United States, and they have the highest hospitalization and mortality of all groups.
And the
So
lowest diagnosis, and are least likely to be able to get help
exactly,
for
for
many
so
reasons.
many reasons. So
Yeah.
that's why I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And just going out in the community and just talking about it, so many people are going to the doctor to check out the things that they had wrong with them that they like didn't think about it, right? I
Yeah.
gotta go check that out. It could be this. And the thing with sarcoidosis, it hides. It takes them forever. Not now, then. But because we have FSR, and they are the leading they're the leaders in this nonprofit organization when it comes to sarcoidosis. They do the most research, and they truly get everyone involved, right? So what can I do? You can get involved as much and as little as you like.
Right.
That's the best thing about this organization. They
Right.
understand that, okay, you suffer from sarcoidosis. So if you have an issue and you can't do something for, let's say you need a month or two, they get it.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
And they support you.
So Sherron, I want to go back just one other thing. So first of all, you said you were picking apples, but you never told me what happened that day you were picking apples. Did you you couldn't carry the bushel back to the car? I mean, what happened? What happened?
So what happened was, after going apple picking, I went home and I started feeling tired.
Uh-huh.
It was the fatigue that got me first.
Okay.
And then I started having shortness of breath.
Okay.
And so for 6 to 9 months, they didn't figure out what it was.
But the first day you were picking apples and you went home and you were like more tired than you should have been.
Right. But I equate that to, because the only thing that I did out of the norm was going apple picking. So the doctor said, I believe you had allergic reaction to the pesticide, which caused the sarcoidosis to be triggered. He said it's probably always in your body.
Okay.
And it triggered it. I'm sorry, I should have said that part.
No, that's all right. That's all right, because we leapfrogged ahead, and that was interesting too. But I just wanted to connect that dot. So that's interesting. The pesticide triggered it. I think, and the other thing I want you to do is talk about the diagnosis, because a lot of people get a rash around their ankles.
Right.
And that was my case. All right. And I disregarded it for a couple. I thought it was dry skin, or my pants rubbing because I was hiking or something like that. And now I know from talking to different doctors and different patients that was certainly an early indicator that something was going on with me. So Did you have anything that was like a rash as well?
So that's what the erythematosus was. But it was like a rash, but it was a knot. And it was hard. And if you touched it, like, I would scream. It was so painful to touch. And that's what it was, just the rash. That's how he diagnosed it, because it was but they were hard knots.
Wow.
If you can imagine, so imagine your rash, but just in a knot form, like a mosquito bite or a wasp bite, and you got it, and it swelled up. Okay. That's what it was like. And to touch it. So that was the first thing. Then the shortness of breath came, because by the time they realized what I had, I already had the lesions on my lungs.
Okay. So then they put you on 60 milligrams of prednisone, that's one of the higher doses that I've heard about. So how long did you have to stay on that? A year, a month? What?
Oh, wait, let me put my.
Usually. Okay.
So with that, what happened was I was on prednisone, oh my God, for about off and on a year, maybe.
Okay. Because usually they start with a big dose.
They weaned me down. Yeah. They weaned, so I started with 60 because they wanted to know what was going on with me. And then the problem with the prednisone is that it masks everything, right? But he went in my body because he said my body was in full overload with the immune system. And it was just screaming and freaking out. Those are his words, not mine. He said, your immune system is screaming and freaking out. I said, you tell me about it. How you think I feel? And so I started with 60, and I did 60 for 2 weeks, and then I did 40 for 3 weeks, and then I did 30, like that. He started weaning me down until I got down to finishing taking it. So I must have taken it for about 5 months. Okay. Initially.
All right. Do you take anything right now?
I'm currently I have to do everything is for my lungs. So I do the albuterol and I do the nebulizer.
So they're treating the symptoms, but they're not going after the Sarc itself. So, and I would guess that you're not having any flares right now. So you're walking around, you're breathing relatively normally, that kind of stuff.
Well, no, actually, what's happening to me is because sarcoidosis causes all kinds of things. I'm suffering from dry eyes now.
Ooh,
So
yes.
what happens is your eyes get so dry from the inflammation
Yep.
that they're always running, and then so I have steroid drops for that,
Okay.
and I'm doing the albuterol and the pump. So because I am I referee basketball, high school basketball.
What?
Because I want to be in shape. And it's hard to be in shape if they keep putting you on steroids every time. Because they will put me on steroids. And every time they put me on it, my doctors realize that you blow up and then you lose the weight.
Yeah.
But they figured out that I keep 6 to 8 pounds.
Yeah.
So can you imagine 27 years of doing this and 6 to 8 pounds stay?
Yeah.
So
No, nobody wants that extra 8 pounds hanging
no,
around.
and you know what they keep telling you? Oh, your cholesterol, your blood pressure. Well, I mean, you keep putting me on steroids. What am I supposed to do? I can't get the weight off.
I love it. So, but you mean, Sherron, most people, when they want to lose weight, they go on a diet and they join the YMCA. You're refereeing basketball. That's not the way most people stay in shape. Just saying.
I do that just to get out because I'm from New York and I really don't
Okay.
know that many people. That
Right.
was the other thing about being a part of FSR. I made a lot of friends
Yeah.
and people that can actually relate to what I personally am going through, right?
Right.
So
Right.
even because they call it the snowflake disease, because we all have different symptoms, but we all know something about something that like you had the rash and I had the rash.
Right.
When I said fatigue, the first thing is like, oh yeah, we get it, right? So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
that community in itself. And I love that I am informed on what's going on, the latest on clinical trials. This is a reason for a person to get involved with it, right?
Yeah.
This past May, we went to do a congressional briefing with our white paper. I mean, this organization is awesome.
Yeah. I was
And
there. I was there.
you could do as much or as little as you like. And that's
Right.
what I love about it.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So now I want to talk some more about some of the other things you do. First of all, you're a project manager for the Federal Aviation Administration. That sounds like a huge, big, hard job.
It is. And challenging sometimes.
Yeah.
Only because we get the foggy brain and all these different symptoms that go with sarcoidosis, right? And it is. But what I do is I know that I am at my peak in the morning. So that means that I start my day at 6:30.
AM.
My day ends at 3. But I continue working, but I get up, I'm online at 6 o'clock, or I'm in the office at 6:30, 6:15. Because we go into the office one day a week. So one day a week I'm there like 6:15. But I'm doing my most critical stuff in the morning because that's when my brain is the freshest. And that's the thing you learn as a sarcoidosis person. You know when you can function and when you can't, right? So 3 o'clock is when I start doing things that are not as critical.
Got
But
it.
it's a balance.
That makes perfect sense. I'm that way also. Unfortunately, I also do the 11 o'clock news. And so
PM?
yeah, PM. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So, but I like to get these podcasts recorded in the morning when my mind is sharp. And then anyway, I try to portion it out throughout the day. That's all I can do. But the brain fog is real, right?
It is so real, and people
Yeah.
don't believe. And I actually ended up suffering with I got COVID.
Did you?
Oh my God, it was terrible though. And what made it so bad was you're already short of breath, right?
Yeah.
You don't know.
Right.
And I did all I had was shortness of breath and then all my regular sarcoidosis issues. And so when I went to the doctor and they said it was positive, I was like, what? The only thing I had that I didn't have with sarcoidosis is I lost my appetite.
Okay.
Because sometimes with sarcoidosis, because I have sinus problems, I can smell, I can't smell. It was the
Right.
weirdest thing. It was the
Right.
weirdest thing.
That is.
And that fatigue is real. That bringing fog is real.
Right. So, well, in addition to that job and you getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and doing all that, you actually host a a show, a public access show. So what's it called? What's that all about?
So the name of this show is Small Talk. And it's because I'm from New York, it's Small Talk.
Walk.
Right. See, look,
Okay.
3 A's.
Okay.
3 A's.
Got
And
it.
the reason why I started is because it was so much going on the news, and it was just to me noise because it was just too much going on back when I created the show.
Right.
And it's just to keep the community connected. So with shows about like I think my first show recorded was FNAYA, which is a nonprofit organization, and it stands for Families Alleviating the Need in America. And
Okay.
it's a group of women that came together and they have all these different initiatives, Christmas Wish, book bag, college care packages. They take young kids camp and have never left out their neighborhood, like all this fabulous stuff. So that's what I'm doing, right? I'm showcasing people, just everyday people on my show and keeping people connected to what's going on in their community. And initially when I started it, I needed something to take my mind off of being in a strange environment because I just moved here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Different flare-ups happening because of stress. Because that's the other thing. You could say, "Oh, I'm not stressed," and then you have this flare-up, and you try to figure out why. Because really, you are stressed, and you haven't
You're stressed.
identified it.
That's right.
So it was a form of relaxation for me, coming up with ideas, coming up with the questions, speaking to the person in advance, prepping. It was wonderful. I love it. And the thing I like about it is because it's public access. So if I want to record it in the early evening or Saturday or Sunday, I can do it whenever I need to do it. And so I do it in the studio first. They have first dibs to it, meaning they air it first.
Right.
And then I upload it on my on my
Facebook,
YouTube page.
YouTube. Okay.
Yeah, I use YouTube and for people to see it. And I started that because my mom is in New York. And so she said, I want to see your shows. I want to. I'm like, Ma, it's public access, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But she always thought I was going to be a star. So that's why I put it on YouTube so that it was for my mother to see nobody else. And then other people started looking at it. So I got a few subscribers and a few people. But the
Okay.
good thing about it is I'll be able to interview Dr. Ariel December. So I'm excited
Nice.
about that.
Nice. So if you live in Northern Virginia, um, how do people watch it on TV? Is it on the local cable network? Is
It's
there a
on Channel 10.
Channel 10.
On Channel 10. It's the local Fairfax
Fairfax.
station.
Okay.
But what I'm doing now is because I'm talking about sarcoidosis and a little more serious things, I'm gonna connect with the public access channel here in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna do one in Westchester because I have a big I'm from there, I grew up there, everybody knows me.
Right.
And I have it airing in my little town called Greenburgh so that people can just see what I'm doing and the connections that I'm talking about are connections that anyone could have anywhere.
Right.
Right. And if you want to give, you could go online and give if it's something that you want to give, but also too to get the information out about different things, just like sarcoidosis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope that you'll take your channel and talk about sarcoidosis as much as you can, because that's just a great opportunity to continue to spread the word. And you obviously, because you're the community outreach leader and all that. I mean, you know the drill. And how many people out there have sarcoidosis or walking around with it and don't know it? They just think they're tired, or they just think they have a rash, and they never even ask their doctor, well, could it be sarcoidosis?
But also too, doctors are now just learning about it, really.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, I believe because I went to see different people, they had no idea. They didn't know
Right.
what it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're just starting to get familiar with it. And I would say in the last maybe 10 years or so. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just starting to get because you have famous people like Bernie Mac, he had
Right. You
sarcoidosis.
sure did.
Tisha Campbell has sarcoidosis. There's people like famous people, now that these famous people, and they're people in the Black community, right?
Right.
So when they hear about these people, like, oh, wait a minute. And then they think, I might have had this, or this might have been that, or, you start looking at yourself. But I found that a lot of older people, like older, like over 50, like 70 and
Right.
older,
Right. Yeah.
have sarcoidosis and just went through all of these different flare-ups and had no idea.
Right.
No idea.
Right.
It was my brother-in-law's sister. She had it. And it was because of her. She would see me, and that's how I knew I had dry eyes. Because I'm in
Mm-hmm.
a community, nobody knows about sarcoidosis.
Right.
And my eyes, I said, oh my God, my allergies. I ran into her in the store one day and I was like, oh, my allergies are crazy. She said, that's not your allergies. She said, that's sarcoidosis. See under your eyes? And now she's pointing, you see under your eyes, you have this little dryness? She said, that's, you better go to your doctor and go see your ophthalmologist. She was right. She was a
Wow.
sarcoidosis
It
patient.
was
And she
sarcoidosis.
knew so think about it. If we have people everywhere you go all over and we're informed,
Yeah.
you could at least tell them, get checked out.
Right.
Not diagnose them. Just tell me. I'm
Right.
not encouraging that. I'm just saying,
Right.
help me go to the doctor to find out more. But doctors don't seem to have all the answers. It's really you as an individual that needs. I had to journal. That's the first thing I did.
So yeah, so tell me about that, because everybody's looking for a way to cope. So you journaled.
I journaled just to understand and try to guess when the flare-ups were coming. So I would write down everything that I was experiencing. This journal was only for sarcoidosis.
Okay.
And anything that was related, allergic reactions, anything I did that overexerted me, I was keeping track of it to deter and dating it and the time. And that was one mechanism for me to actually deal with it, because I didn't talk about it to people because I was embarrassed that I had something that I couldn't even pronounce and didn't know anything about it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of talked to myself through it. The other thing is like the community the community, what are they? The leaders, the community group leaders.
Right. Yes.
They can sit in the circle and listen, and I can't do that all the time.
Why not?
My mental state, it
Okay.
depresses me
Oh, okay. All right.
to
Gotcha.
hear. It's funny because I'm listening to these people, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I thought I had it bad. I had it good. The one thing is you reflect on yourself, right? So you're on the call and somebody's talking about their experience because they're all different. And then you look and it's like, oh my God. And then you hear the next person and everybody has something, right? Because we're all on for this reason.
Right.
Just
Right.
listening to it sometimes, it was depressing me. So I
Yeah.
don't go to all the meetings. That's what I'm telling people, like anybody's interested in joining.
Well, you're there to support the other people, but you're also there to talk through your own problems. And there's something cathartic about sharing these problems with this common, let's call it an enemy, sarcoidosis.
It is.
And so you hear people talk through it, and like for me, like you, it's like I thought it was the end of my world because it changed the way I had to approach my life. But then I look at people who have it worse, and I think, well, I don't have it so bad. It's like I can't be what I once was, but I'm still a better version of myself than this guy or this woman.
Right.
But
it's funny you said it because I remember when I first found out, I was devastated.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I had I was on top of my world. I had a great husband. I had 2 beautiful daughters. I had 2 dogs. We had a beautiful home in Westchester. Like what girls in Catholic school. What more could you ask for, right?
Right.
And then I could get with this. And everything about my world was totally turned upside down. And my husband was self-employed. So I was a mother, a wife, a dog walker, and I also had to whatever my husband's business needed, because he did the work. He was a finisher, so he did plaster and tape and wallpaper. But I was helping with the proposals, and I would, what I'm saying, that kind of stuff. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then with sarcoidosis, you could get up and then have to lay right back down. You can't. So it was the worst thing that I cried for probably 2 straight months of just not being able to do all the things that I could do.
Yeah. And so that's where that perspective helps, right? I mean, that's right. Kind of what I like to do with the podcast. Like, people are going to be listening to you today, tell your story, and they're going to compare that to themselves, and they're going to be interested in your story because it's a very interesting story. But this is a support group, kinda, right? Like we don't have those other people joining us in the conversation, but they're listening to what we have to say today, and they're comparing their situation. They're getting perspective. They're learning about maybe I had a rash around my ankle and I didn't realize it, or they're realizing that going through prednisone is something that everybody with this disease has to do. And
has to, if you want to be here.
If you want to, get to the next thing, first thing you got to do is get it under control, right? And then, I'm interested in you because, I mean, you can't referee basketball unless you played basketball. So did you play hoops?
Did not.
What?
Never played.
How do you know the rules of the game?
I was a cheerleader.
Yeah, and I dated.
I am totally a cheerleader type.
So,
but
you know when somebody gets hacked, and you know when there's a reach, and you know when there's a carry and
double dribble and all of that. Of course I do. Because what happens is I'm a part of Board 12, which is out here in Maryland, and they're a part of IBO. And what they do training, right?
Never heard any of this. Okay. Yep.
Really? Yeah, oh my God. It's amazing. I was like, this is my second season. I just started it.
Really?
I just started it. And I do volleyball too now because it's just so much fun. And also too, it keeps you young because you with all these young people.
Yeah.
And so what happens is you do training.
Yeah.
And you take and the rules are always changing in the game. And so you meet monthly, you get the training, you take a test, you could take it 3 times in order, because I just took it yesterday, I got like 98. I'm so proud of myself. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm into it. And what I do too is I watch a lot of women's basketball because the game goes a little slower.
Right.
So that I could really horn in, because I'm one of those people, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it 100%. So I have to be really good at it. So last year I spent a lot of my time with little kids because they're learning the fundamentals. So it gave me the courage to go, woo, foul, woo, stop. I wouldn't do that and now this year I'm spending more time. And as the season progressed, I started doing high school students and middle school and that kind of thing. Okay. So now this year I'm only going to do middle school and I'm only going to do high school.
Right.
I might do some 3rd and 4th graders, but probably not, because you really want to know the rules as well. Because my goal is to do it for college, to ref on the college level.
That would be awesome. And so you can run up and down the court right now and you're okay.
It's funny because a couple of weeks ago was my first time I did St. Albans, a Catholic school tournament that they have. 8 o'clock in the morning. That I said, oh, these are high school boys, and I used my pump. The second game, I was like, oh my God, I used my pump again. That third game, I had to do it twice because my body's not used to all that running, right?
Right.
I had to do it twice in the beginning and then midstream because I was just like winded, like totally winded. And I said, okay, girl, you forgot you have sarcoidosis. You have to slow down. And then you teach yourself how to breathe. Did you find yourself doing, is yours respiratory as well, or you just had to?
Mine is it's on my spinal cord. It's neurosarc.
Ugh.
So so it's kind of messed with my legs a little bit. So, but I used to play basketball.
No way. So you know all the running I'm talking about.
Oh,
I
for
did
sure.
the men's league too. The men's league gets angry with me because I'm like, dudes, you're all here getting the same NBA contract. Nothing.
Right. Nothing. Right.
Knock it off. This is a 40 and older league, because they're so serious and you didn't see that, you didn't call it. That's the hardest part, getting that abuse from them.
Right. Well, there's a lot of stuff that goes on inside that it's hard to see if you're a ref, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. And you have to really pay attention to under the net and that kind of stuff. And the guys are worse because they're so crazy. The older men, it's so funny.
Oh, I remember. I mean, look, you're hanging on to that last vestige of your basketball self, and you want to accomplish whatever it is you want to accomplish. Someone's trying to stop you and they follow you and you don't catch it as the ref, you're going to hear about it.
Oh my God. But it's fun. The thing is that the part I like about it is because it forces me to stretch in the beginning.
Yeah.
To stretch in the end and to walk every single day. Like I may not be able to do, because I was just looking at joining the gym. I really want to do swimming because swimming is the best exercise because mine sarcoidosis affects my joints. And so my rheumatologist said that the best thing for me to do is to swim. And he said, if you swim every day, then that would be good for you. And
Sure.
but I don't have time to be doing that because then I got to wash and blow dry my hair every single day. I can't do that. I don't do
Well,
that.
yeah, no, I mean the hair thing is that's hard. That's why a lot of swimmers have the short hair and all that. And
Mm-hmm.
I did a couple of triathlons, and so I was spending a lot of time in the pool. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm a TV guy. I mean, so and my hair, it's not like it's not as difficult as your hair, but my hair was so stiff from the chlorine that I could go back and look at tapes from the 2 or 3 years when I was really I was going to the pool 2, 3 times a week. I don't know how the viewers put up with it.
But that part of
Right?
it, but it's actually one of the best exercise, that and walking.
Yeah.
Because I really can't do a whole lot of jumping. And also too, I recommend people do strength training
Yeah. Right.
and stuff to work on balance. Because as we get older, our balance gets off. So I'm finding myself trying to do all of these things, and it's not enough hours in the day.
Right. Right. My
You
wife's
know,
trying to get me to do yoga for all those same reasons.
but yoga is really good. You should try it.
I got to turn in my man card if I go do yoga.
No, you don't. Just do it at home privately.
Well, maybe I can do that.
Yeah.
There's some new yoga outfit that just came to town. It's a franchise, and she said, "Oh, you should come. You should do it with me. I'm going to the initial meeting." Not a single man in the whole meeting. It was at a wine bar, and I said, "So did I miss something?" She said, "No, I'm glad you didn't come. You'd have been the only guy there."
And that would
So,
have been uncomfortable.
oh yeah, it would have been uncomfortable. Sure,
But I recommend doing just do yoga on the web, on the internet or something. They
and
have all
just
the apps.
find an instructor and do it because I think it would help my joints and it would help me
I
stretch.
know it will.
So well, look, anything else you want to share with our sarcoidosis community?
The one
Sherron?
thing I'd like to share is, and I really would like to see more people get involved with the Foundation of Sarcoidosis and Research. This is my plug. My plug really is to encourage people to go online and read about the organization and see how there's something you can do as an individual. Because you don't have to have sarcoidosis, but the thing about sarcoidosis is it shows up anytime. You could have nothing and then have it, or somebody in your family, and more people are finding themselves with the disease. So we need people to really fight. And then we have Giving Tuesday coming up, and I'd like for people to go along and give some type of contribution. Nothing is too small. Anything you give, because it all adds up together, right? So I'm really hoping that people get involved and look for more literature on sarcoidosis. And there's life after sarcoidosis. Just because you're diagnosed with it doesn't mean. I know the first couple of months are scary because you do feel all alone. No matter who you are, no matter how much information is out there, you feel all alone. But I want to let people know too that no, you're not alone. It's a whole community waiting to come and support you and help you through it. Because the good thing about the foundation is it's nationally everywhere. In every state, you got some help. So I just encourage people to go out and do that. Look for it. This has been awesome. Now I'm gonna have you come on my show and talk about sarcoidosis.
I'll do it.
You will?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Hey, that'll be good. Where are you in? Virginia or?
I'm in Roanoke, Virginia. Yeah. So
Okay, that's not bad. I can even do it as a Zoom.
yeah, I've got to do it as a Zoom. I don't know if I can. It's 4 hours from me to you, and finding 4 hours in my life is pretty hard right now.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And I want you at your peak, and we wouldn't be able to do it early in the morning.
Okay, but if you want to do it as a Zoom, I'll do it for sure.
Perfect. Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, Sherron, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I feel like a zombie, just feeding and stumbling.
So thanks again to Sherron for sharing her story, for volunteering for FSR at Inova Health, and maybe you can look her up if you live in the greater Washington, D.C. area, Northern Virginia. And she also has that great public access show on YouTube that there will be a link in the show notes if you want to look that up, and maybe you can find her, and who knows, maybe she'll come and do an interview, an interview with you. You can go meet her, or however they work that out, via Zoom or however that works. I'm not sure exactly how that is. But yeah, that would be great if you and Sherron could hook up and you guys can continue to tell the sarcoidosis story. The official Sarc Fighter's song is Zombie by Mark Steyer and his band, the White Hot Lizards. Mark is a fellow Sarc Fighter. The story behind the lyrics is back in episode 12. That's a great interview. When I don't mess up, I release every other Monday. Once again, my apologies for missing last Monday. As I'm speaking today, yes, in fact, my trusty dog Dougal is curled up on the chair in my office. Dougal makes my life so much better. And the backstory to the founding for the Foundation for Sarcoidosis Research is episode 11. That's with Andrea and Redding Wilson. Don't forget to follow the Sarc Fighter on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm even on Peloton. If you have a treadmill or a bicycle, a Peloton bicycle, or even I think they have a Peloton rowing machine now, just look me up as Sarc Fighter and follow along. My cycling blog, Carl and the Cyclist, has a section called Cycling with Sarcoidosis. I recently posted a new post about riding my gravel bike up through the mountains, and it wasn't really sarcoidosis related, but a lot of you who are cyclists have found this show by hook or by crook, and you might find that interesting. So look up Carl and the Cyclist. And if you're new here and you are just trying to figure out what sarcoidosis is, go back and listen to episode 2 with Dr. Simon Hart. He just talks, it's like Sarcoidosis 101. Everything you need to know or want to know about sarcoidosis, all the questions maybe you're afraid to ask because you think that everybody else knows so much more than you. Well, I asked him all the basic stuff, and that's right there. And then my sad story is episode 1, where I just kind of told you how I got to where I am with sarcoidosis. And if you want to go back and listen to that, that's there. And you can send me an email if you'd like to appear on the show or if you have a comment. And sometimes I do share comments here on the show. It's carlinagency@gmail.com, or just go to the show notes and you can find my email address. Thanks for listening. And until next time, keep fighting.
Learn to suffer, you feel pain someday. Learn endurance, your strength will fade away. Dead man walking, trying to keep up the pace. Dead man walking,